Hello and welcome to Oscar's Lounge. I hope you're enjoying the content I'm providing to you. I hope you're enjoying this lounge. You're chilling, you're relaxing, and you're connecting with me on this journey of self-discovery. Firstly, I would like you to like if you're enjoying the content, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and colleagues so that they can also benefit from this spiritual journey we are embarking on. We are continuing today with the series in the Epiphanies of Rebirth. Last time we spoke about the ego, and continuing on from there, we are going to speak about the darkness. I told you last week that my ego popped, the bubble I was in popped, and because my inflated ego went through a very big crash. I discovered my place of refuge was only a false, dark, toxic world filled with lies, with deceit, with gossip, with backbiting, with jealousy, and all the like. And I, all of a sudden, due to the lack of providing me those dangling carrots, my desires for more levels of ascension on the corporate ladder, they didn't deny me all of that. And that helped me see the crack in the wall and discovering that the place I had built a home in was not a home. I crashed. I fell into this depression, and it was a very slippery dip into depression. So I also told you that my conspicuous figure was shattered. It was cut in chunks. It was destroyed. And I found myself about to be absorbed in thick darkness. Now today we're speaking about the darkness, which follows on from the ego and the burst, the collapse of my ego. So today let's speak about the darkness, continue on the story. Seeing that my ego had erupted, the fully inflated bubble I was living in, the false self I had was now engulfed in thick darkness. The shadowy figure, all that was left was my shadow, and this shadowy figure was all that was left of me. My total vanquishment and the resulting agony bred familiarity with contempt and wretchedness. So in this dark place, this dark hole where I was basically almost losing my voice and myself because I didn't recognize who I was after the home I had connected with and sacrificed all my life, all my 10 years plus of career to feed and grow this ego and this persona, this professional career of mine, which was invincible, I felt. It was totally vanquished now because I was now in this very dark and disastrous place with no hope, no sign of light. So I was totally vanquished. I was in pain, lots of pain. I was bleeding profusely. The resulting agony bred familiarity with self-contempt and wretchedness. I felt destroyed, completely distraught. And this culminated in the eruption of my shadow self. Just like a volcano, my shadow self erupted into my view. Pondering on the meaninglessness of my existence and whether or not any substance was left of my self and my remains, my shadow self rudely interrupted. This shadow self that erupted, It interrupted me in this very dark and lonesome place, revealing the disturbing and grotesque monster. As I told you previously in the shadow self, the topic on the shadow self, your shadow self is hidden most times. We don't actually want to explore it. We don't want to uncover it because it holds all the dark elements of ourselves. Although they don't define us, but they are part of who we are. They are thoughts that come and go like clouds in the sky. But in this dark place, my shadow self, which is the case, when you're in a very dark place, your shadow element consumes you. It took over, it interrupted and revealed the disturbing, grotesque monster. My hidden profile in each fragment of my residual being, whatever was left of me post the fall. And I showed you this image in my blog, this grotesque monster that was sitting in the silences of its despair. It was half beast, half human. Unfortunately, that was the best way to illustrate the dark nature of this monster that was now revealing to me the grotesque nature of myself. It was accusing me of all of my fall, and I was the sole culprit in bringing my downfall from supposed grace to grass. I had quit my job. I had left everything because I decided that obviously I didn't know who I was. I wanted to end my life. I wanted to destroy myself, annihilate myself. The self-deception that I chose only was a cynic route to self-annihilation. I was hauled by my shadow self into my Shadowland, where graphic scenes from my past were broadcasted. It was a personal freak show of my own life, of which I was the sole involuntary audience. This was what my shadow self was revealing to me. It was about to reveal the true nature, the true person I had been, the masks I had worn, the persona I had put on, the ego, this invincible and inflated ego that I had created, what it had actually brought to me. And it was just revealing how grotesque and disturbing and unnatural myself was, just helping to trap me in the darkness. So being hauled to this shadowland of mine and made to be the sole involuntary audience, I was unwillingly shackled into the best seat right in front. It was like a cinema. I was shackled, chained into the best seat, and I had to watch at an inescapable vantage point. I had to watch myself in the past and how I got here to this dark and dangerous hole. Glimpses of my inner demons were revealed. One moment, I was the majestic bull, proud, arrogant, and ungrateful. The next moment, I was a fierce crocodile, ruthless and inauthentic, greedy and selfish. The next moment, I was a mischievous fox, crafty and manipulative, corrupt and deceitful. And so the torment persisted. I stood before the judgment seat, and the verdict had been delivered. I had occluded my source of grace with the shadow of my limited personality. Can you grasp that? That was the image in my darkness, in my depression that was revealed to me. I was one moment the majestic bull, proud and arrogant. The next moment I was a fierce crocodile, ruthless and inauthentic, greedy and selfish. And the next moment I was a mischievous fox. I was crafty and manipulative, deceitful and corrupt. And so these images, this grotesque monster was revealed to me, who in my very, very dark and deep, dark hole. I was the real ogre. My ruin was all my making. This was my karma. Have you ever heard the term karma? You did this to yourself. This was all you're making. The vicious cycle of life. You do bad, bad comes back to you. You do good, good comes back to you. This was all my shadowland. My shadow self was revealing to me the grotesque nature of myself. my ego, the erupted ego, inflated ego that finally popped. This was what I looked like, what caused it. This was my shadow self in this very, very dark element. This most dark element was revealing to me this was myself. I failed to discover my inner self, and I just grew the mask, the fake narrative, led me down the path of destruction. And I was finally in this hole without a voice to speak, in the silences of my despair. And this was what was revealed to me. I had occluded my grace with the shadow of my limited personality. My personality, just like my world, was so narrow, and I was absorbed and swallowed in it. And now, unfortunately, I had eventually reached the rock bottom of my existence. My disoriented mind had been overpowered by the darkest elements. My rapid descent into the night sea of my psyche was predestined. My shadow, my shadowland brought the knowledge of the secret of the Orga's doom. The source of the shapes of the day was only darkness. I was living in a very dark world, and there was no daytime, there was no daylight. Have you heard of Alaska? It's like Alaska during November to February or January, when it is all night every single day. It was actually worse than that. Thick darkness, no sun, only darkness. Even the moonlight was not there to help me out. I didn't even have a window. I was absorbed in thick darkness. The hole I was trapped in was deep and dark and had no window. This was my wasteland, and my decay was imminent. So the refusal of the call, I had refused the call to discover my inner self. I had silenced the unsettling feeling, and now my inner self was suffering, and the consequences were dire. I had ignored my mental and emotional well-being to such a large degree that the suppressed pain and suffering eventually exploded into awareness with a vengeance. Do you feel sometimes like you also spend a lot of time focused on other things? You spend a lot of time focused on the hustle and the bustle, the urgency of life, the rat race, that we forget to take care of our mental health and our emotional well-being. That's exactly what happened to me. I had suppressed my pain. We suppress our pain and our suffering. We mask it all up. We put on our masks. We get about smiling, putting up fake smiles, fake narratives, fake stories. And one day, unfortunately, it's going to erupt. Our pain and suffering is going to explode into an awareness with a vengeance. When you are shackled into that seat and you are made to see all that you've ignored about yourself, discovering your true inner self, the call, silencing that voice inside you, asking, telling you that you are on a dangerous path, you're on a slippery dip down into depression. So I had ignored my mental health and physical well-being, my emotional well-being. I had ignored everything. I was just chasing fame, glory, power, influence, recognition, titles. And here was I. This grotesque monster was revealed. All I had was a wasteland, and my decay was imminent. I had been cut in chunks and dispersed abroad, scattered all around. I was shattered, broken, could barely speak. I was in a very dark place. There was no window. There was no sunlight. There was no moonlight. It was just thick darkness. Even Alaska, between November to January, cannot begin to explain the level of darkness I was in. At least they have moonlight. Like a volcano, the inner darkness eventually gushed out, leaving destruction in its wake. Just like a volcano, it's bubbling. The heat is bubbling under the ground. We're not aware of it, and one day it just gushes out, and it erupts. My inner darkness eventually gushed out, leaving destruction in its wake. This was the thick darkness I was absorbed in. There was no ray of sunshine. There was no even single drop of light from a torchlight or nothing. It was completely dark. There was no window. And I was considering the end of my life, my demise. My grasp of sensation all fell out of whack. I was completely numb to feeling. I had lost my voice and everything around me was just a blur. You can see from the image, I lay there, I sat in my despair. I was basically in wounds, in pain, in a very, very ugly wasteland, in a very dark and fiery wasteland. I was about to consume me. So, sitting in the silences of my despair, consumed by guilt, by shame and fear, I had been broken down. And this was the juncture where life falls apart, where all things fall apart. So I ask you, do you want to wait to the point where things begin to fall apart before you answer the call? Like things happen to me. Do you want to wait when life is telling you things are not the way it should be? When your being feels shattered, when your being is not whole, when your whole being that was made to be a queen, a princess in this life, to own your existence, when it is all just all about running a race, walking from sunrise to sunset, working till the moonlight comes out. When do you start to take care of your well-being? When do you start to take care of your inner self? When do you start to discover who you truly are, your true image? Do you wait till you're sucked up and your shadowland with yourself, your shadow self is fully consuming you? So I hope that you don't wait till you're broken. I hope that you don't wait till though you see now, you try to see through this eyes God has given us, through these senses and our divine senses. We should awaken them, our intuition, uncover the dark hole, the toxic nature of your world, and step aside from it. Look within, find that peace, find that contentment, find fullness of joy, find it's within you, the love for yourself, not looking outwards, because outwards only offers us a cinema, which in the end would not be a very nice, beautiful cinema with lots of nice stories, but a very, very dangerous and ugly one, where you are a monster and you are a fox and you are all these ugly things in life. Because when your shadow self erupts, and your shadowland and your wasteland is revealed, and when you are falling into darkness, that is it is hard to come out of it. It is hard to climb those walls, those thick walls, out of that dark hole. So was this the beginning of the end? Was all hope lost? Was decomposition inescapable? So we'll pause here, ponder on these questions. Don't wait for the beginning of the end. Don't wait for all hope to be lost. Don't wait for decomposition, your demise. Do something about it now. Unfortunately, I waited till the last juncture. Unfortunately, I waited till my demise was about to take place. I waited for destruction to be at my wake. But you can do differently. That's why self-discovery, self-questioning, mindfulness, meditation, breath work would help you to uncover these hidden gems, this hidden truth about yourself. But until next time, I hope you've enjoyed this content. Share with your friends, like, subscribe. I leave you with lots of light bulbs shining into your life, helping you see. I leave you with love. I leave you with peace. I leave you with joy. I leave you with contentment. I leave you with tranquility. Until next time, bye bye.